The lesson that changed everything. The wrench slipped from Marcus's grease-stained hands and clattered against the concrete floor of his small repair shop. He'd been working on the same stubborn carburetor for 3 hours, and his patience was wearing thin. The afternoon sun filtered through the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the cluttered workspace, filled with bicycles in various states of repair. This wasn't the life he'd imagined for himself, but it was honest work, and after everything that had happened, honest work was all he had left. That's when he heard it, a sound that made him pause mid-reach for the fallen tool. Crying, not the dramatic wailing of a tantrum, but the quiet, frustrated sobs of someone trying desperately not to be heard. Marcus wiped his hands on his already filthy rag and stepped outside. There, sitting on the curb in front of his shop, was a girl who couldn't have been more than 10 years old. Her purple bicycle lay on its side next to her, the chain hanging loose like a broken promise. Her shoulders shook with each suppressed sob, and her small hands were smudged with black grease. If you're already feeling this story, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment below telling me what you think so far, and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more incredible stories that will touch your heart. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Marcus approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Hey there," he said gently, his deep voice softened by genuine concern. "Rough day?" The girl looked up, her brown eyes rimmed with red, and quickly wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing the grease across her cheek. "I can fix it myself," she said defensively, her chin jutting out with fierce pride despite the tears still glistening on her face. "I don't need help." Something in those words resonated with Marcus. He'd said the same thing countless times over the past 2 years, pushing away anyone who tried to reach out after he'd lost his job at the engineering firm. Pride had been his armor, but it had also been his prison. "I can see that," Marcus said, crouching down to her level, careful not to invade her space. "You've already gotten the chain off. That's not easy. Most people can't even figure out where to start." The girl sniffled, looking at him with suspicion that slowly melted into curiosity. "Really? Really? My name's Marcus. What's yours?" "Emma," she said quietly, then added with a touch of defiance, "And I'm going to be a mechanical engineer when I grow up." Marcus felt something crack open in his chest, a small fissure in the wall he'd built around his heart. "A mechanical engineer? That's impressive. Is that why you're trying to fix your bike yourself?" Emma nodded, her expression growing more animated despite her earlier tears. "My mom says I should learn to solve my own problems. She says being independent is important. But I've been trying for an hour, and I can't get the stupid chain back on. And now I'm going to be late getting home and she's going to worry and—" Her voice cracked, and fresh tears threatened to spill over. "Whoa, hold on," Marcus said, raising his hands in a calming gesture. "How about this? I won't fix it for you, but I can teach you how to fix it yourself. That way you're still solving your own problem. You're just adding a new tool to your toolbox. Sound fair?" Emma considered this carefully, her young mind working through the logic. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, but I want to do the actual fixing." "Deal," Marcus said, extending his hand. She shook it solemnly, and he couldn't help but smile at her seriousness. What neither of them noticed was the sleek black sedan parked across the street, engine idling quietly. Inside, Catherine Morrison sat in the back seat, her phone in her hand, pretending to review emails while her eyes remained fixed on her daughter. She'd been following Emma for the past 20 minutes, ever since her daughter had insisted on riding her bike home alone from her friend's house. Catherine had given in, partially to honor Emma's growing need for independence, partially because she remembered being that fierce little girl who wanted to prove herself capable of anything. But watching wasn't the same as abandoning. So she'd followed at a distance, ready to intervene if needed. She'd seen the chain fall off, watched Emma's frustration mount, witnessed her daughter's tears. Every instinct had screamed at her to jump out of the car and fix everything, the way she'd been fixing problems her entire life, as a single mother, as a CEO who'd clawed her way to the top of Morrison Technologies through sheer determination and brilliant innovation. But something had stopped her. Maybe it was seeing that mechanic approach her daughter with such gentleness. Maybe it was hearing the respect in his voice when he acknowledged Emma's efforts. Or maybe it was recognizing in this stranger's patient demeanor the kind of mentorship she'd always wished her daughter could find, someone who saw potential and nurtured it rather than simply solving problems for others. So Catherine watched, her CEO mask slipping away to reveal the face of a mother whose heart was both breaking and swelling with pride. Back at the bike, Marcus was guiding Emma through the process. See how the chain has these links? Each one needs to fit onto the teeth of the gear. It's like a puzzle, every piece has its place. But there are so many teeth, Emma said, frustration creeping back into her voice. How do I know where to start? Great question, Marcus said. That's the kind of thinking that makes good engineers great. You start by looking for patterns. See how the teeth are different sizes on different gears. The chain needs to follow a specific path. Let me show you, but you hold the chain, okay? For the next 30 minutes, Marcus patiently walked Emma through each step. When she got frustrated, he didn't rush in to do it for her. Instead, he reminded her of what she'd already accomplished. When she made mistakes, he celebrated them as learning opportunities. Every great engineer has failed more times than they can count, he told her. The difference is they don't quit. The challenge wasn't just mechanical. Emma's hands were small and the chain was stiff. She struggled to hold the tension while threading the links onto the gears. Her fingers slipped repeatedly, and Marcus watched the frustration build in her face. The way her jaw tightened and her eyes began to shine with tears again. I can't do it, she finally said, her voice small and defeated. My hands aren't strong enough. This was the moment Marcus had been waiting for, not eagerly but knowingly. This was where most people gave up, where the voice that said, you're not good enough, became louder than the one that said, try again. He'd heard that voice himself countless times over the past 2 years. Emma, look at me, Marcus said, his voice firm but kind. She lifted her eyes to meet his. Strength isn't just about muscles. Some of the best engineers I've ever known were people everyone underestimated. They succeeded because they found creative solutions when the obvious approach didn't work. So let's think. If your hands aren't strong enough to hold the tension directly, what could we do differently? Emma's face scrunched up in concentration. Could we hold it a different way? Could we? Marcus asked, turning the question back to her. And there it was, the moment when defeat transformed into determination. Emma studied the problem from a new angle, literally moving around the bike to see it differently. What if I put my foot on the pedal to turn the gear while I guide the chain with my hands? Then I wouldn't have to hold all the tension myself. Marcus's grin was genuine and unreserved. Now you're thinking like an engineer. Try it. It took 3 more attempts, with Marcus offering small adjustments and encouragement, but Emma finally got the chain back on. When it clicked into place and she spun the pedal to see it move smoothly, her squeal of joy could probably be heard for blocks. I did it, she shouted, jumping up and down. So I actually did it. You absolutely did, Marcus said, and the pride in his voice was real. Something had shifted in him during that half hour. Teaching Emma had reminded him of why he'd fallen in love with engineering in the first place. Not the prestige or the salary he'd lost, but the pure joy of solving problems and helping others see their own capability. Across the street, Catherine Morrison had tears streaming down her face. She'd watched the entire interaction, had seen her daughter's struggle and triumph, had witnessed this stranger treat her child with more patience and respect than many of the executives in her own company showed their subordinates. She'd heard every word through the slightly open car window, and each one had struck something deep in her heart. Emma was hugging Marcus now, this greasy mechanic who'd given her daughter something far more valuable than a fixed bicycle. He'd given her the confidence that comes from overcoming a real challenge, from proving to herself that she was capable. Thank you. Marcus, Emma said, pulling back but still grinning up at him. I really am going to be an engineer, and I'm going to remember this. I believe you will be, Marcus said. And hey, if you ever have more bike trouble, you know where to find me. But something tells me you won't need my help much longer. Emma climbed onto her bike, testing the pedals. Everything worked perfectly. She was about to ride off when she paused and looked back at Marcus. Why were you so nice to me? Most grown-ups would have just fixed it themselves to save time. Marcus was quiet for a moment, considering his answer carefully. Because someone was patient with me once when I really needed it, and because I forgot for a while how good it feels to help someone else succeed. You reminded me of something important, Emma, so maybe we helped each other today. Emma smiled, a knowing look in her young eyes that seemed far older than her years. Maybe we did. Bye, Marcus. She rode off, wobbly at first but gaining confidence with each pedal stroke. Marcus watched until she turned the corner, then stood there for a moment longer, something settling in his chest that had been restless for too long. He was turning back toward his shop when he heard a car door close. He looked over to see a woman in an elegant business suit walking toward him, her heels clicking against the pavement. There was something familiar about her face, something in the shape of her eyes and the determined set of her jaw that reminded him of Emma, he said, confusion coloring his voice. My daughter, Catherine Morrison said, stopping a few feet away from him. Up close, Marcus could see the evidence of recent tears on her face, though her composure was nearly perfect. I'm Catherine Morrison. I've been sitting in that car for the past 40 minutes, watching you teach my daughter one of the most important lessons she'll ever learn. Marcus's mind raced. Morrison. Catherine Morrison. His eyes widened as recognition hit. Morrison Technologies, he breathed. Catherine Morrison was one of the most successful tech CEOs in the country, known for her brilliant innovations in sustainable engineering and her fierce advocacy for women in STEM fields. Her face had been on the cover of every business magazine, and here she was standing in front of his run-down bike shop. I should have come out sooner, Catherine continued, her voice thick with emotion. I should have introduced myself, should have helped Emma myself, but I'm so glad I didn't, because what I witnessed was something I couldn't have given her. You didn't see a CEO's daughter. You didn't see someone to impress or an opportunity to exploit. You saw a frustrated little girl who needed guidance, and you gave her exactly what she needed, without asking for anything in return. I was just helping her fix her bike, Marcus said, overwhelmed and uncertain. No, Catherine said firmly. You were teaching her that she's capable of hard things. That failure is part of learning. That asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Do you know how many people in my position spend thousands on tutors and coaches trying to instill those exact lessons in their children? And you gave it to my daughter in 30 minutes on a sidewalk outside a bike repair shop. Marcus didn't know what to say. The woman in front of him was a titan of industry, and he was a failed engineer running a barely profitable repair shop. The gulf between their worlds seemed impossible to bridge, but Catherine wasn't finished. When I was watching you, I kept thinking about my company. Morrison Technologies is successful, but we've lost something along the way. We've become so focused on efficiency and profit that we've forgotten what engineering is really about. Solving problems to help people, fostering curiosity, mentoring the next generation. You just demonstrated all of that perfectly. She took a breath, and Marcus could see her shifting from mother to CEO, though both roles seemed to inform the other in her. I'd like to offer you a position at Morrison Technologies. We're developing a new educational outreach program, working with schools in underserved communities, to spark interest in STEM. We need someone who understands that teaching isn't just about transferring information, it's about seeing potential in others and helping them see it in themselves. Someone like you. Marcus felt like the ground had shifted beneath his feet. I don't understand. You don't know anything about me. I know what I saw today, Catherine said. But you're right, I'd like to know more. Why is someone with your obvious skill and passion for engineering running a bicycle repair shop? Not that there's anything wrong with that, she added quickly, but I saw the way you explained gear ratios and mechanical systems to Emma. That's not just casual knowledge. So Marcus told her about the engineering firm where he'd worked for 10 years, climbing the ranks until he was leading major projects. About the mistake that hadn't actually been his mistake, a miscalculation by a junior team member that he, as the supervisor, had taken responsibility for. About the project failure that cost the company millions, and his reputation everything. About the blacklisting in the industry, the job applications that went nowhere, the slow dissolution of the life he'd built. I ended up here because it was the only work I could find that still let me be around the things I loved. Marcus said, his voice raw with honesty. Bicycles, machines, solving problems. It's been 2 years, and I've applied to dozens of companies. No one wants an engineer with a failure that big on his record, even if it wasn't really his fault. Catherine listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Everyone who's ever achieved anything significant has failed, Marcus. The question is what they do after. Do they hide from it, let it define them? Or do they find a way to keep contributing, even when the doors they expected to walk through are closed? She pulled a business card from her purse and handed it to him. You kept contributing. You could have become bitter, could have given up on engineering entirely. Instead, you found a way to stay connected to what you love, and you clearly never lost your passion for teaching and problem solving. That's exactly the kind of person I want in my company. Marcus looked at the card, his hands trembling slightly. Why, he asked. Why would you take a chance on me based on one interaction with your daughter? Because in that one interaction, you showed more of what truly matters than most people reveal in a dozen interviews, Catherine said. You showed patience, creativity, empathy, and genuine investment in someone else's success. Those aren't qualities you can fake, and they're the foundation of great mentorship. She paused, then added more softly, and because I've built my entire career on trusting my instincts about people's character, my instincts are telling me that you're someone exceptional, Marcus. Someone who deserves a second chance. As Marcus stood there holding this unexpected lifeline, he thought about Emma's face when she'd finally gotten that chain on the bike. The pure joy of accomplishment, the confidence that came from knowing she'd overcome a real challenge. He'd helped put that look on her face, and Catherine was offering him the chance to do that for countless other children. I don't know what to say, he admitted. Say you'll come in for a proper conversation, Catherine said with a smile. Bring your ideas, your passion, and your story. I think you'll be surprised by how valuable your perspective could be to what we're trying to build. Marcus nodded, unable to form words around the emotion clogging his throat. Catherine reached out and shook his hand firmly. Thank you, Marcus, for what you did for Emma today, and for reminding me why I started Morrison Technologies in the first place, to create opportunities and solve problems that actually matter. As Catherine walked back to her car, Marcus stood holding her business card like it was made of gold. The afternoon sun was lower now, painting everything in warm amber light. His small repair shop looked different somehow, not like a failure or a consolation prize, but like a chapter in a larger story that was still being written. The next morning, Emma's bicycle appeared in front of his shop with a note attached. Mr. Marcus, Mom says you're going to come work with her company. I told all my friends about how you helped me fix my bike, and now they all want to learn about engineering too. Thank you for teaching me that I can do hard things. Love, Emma. P.S. I fixed my friend's bike chain yesterday all by myself. Marcus kept that note pinned to the wall of his new office at Morrison Technologies, where he developed into one of the most beloved mentors in the company's educational outreach program. Years later, when Emma Morrison graduated with her mechanical engineering degree, she invited Marcus to the ceremony. In her valedictorian speech, she told the story of a frustrated little girl and a patient mechanic who taught her that capability isn't about never struggling. It's about refusing to give up when you... Catherine Morrison sat in the audience that day, watching her daughter shine, and caught Marcus's eye across the crowd. They exchanged a smile of shared understanding. Sometimes the most life-changing moments happen on sidewalks outside bike repair shops, when someone chooses kindness and patience over indifference. Sometimes all it takes is one person who sees potential where others see problems, who offers guidance instead of judgment, who believes that everyone, no matter how small their hands or how big their failures, deserves the chance to prove what they're capable of achieving. If this story touched your heart, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button, leave a comment sharing what this story meant to you, and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love because we're building a community of people who believe in second chances, in the power of kindness, and in stories that remind us what really matters. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to start again, that one moment of compassion can change everything, and that sometimes our greatest purpose is found not in the life we planned, but in the unexpected moments when we choose to help someone else succeed. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.